Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sustaining Farm to School Year-Round webinar. My name is Ashley Raymer. I work for Farm to Institution New York State, a program of American Farmland Trust. And I'm joined today by Kimberly Abram and Tricia Miller of the Hamburg Central School District. And together we will be talking to you about ways that you can expand farm to school beyond the growing season and really engage students in your communities year-round. The reason why we're hosting this webinar today is in conjunction with a new resource that we will be publishing very shortly on the FINYS website. It is the latest guide for our local food buyer learning center titled Sustaining Farm to School Through the Winter. So the guide is, as the title states, more specific to activities and procurement in the winter months. But a lot of the underlying principles are applicable year-round, and so we're broadening it out to year-round for the webinar today. The guide is in its final stages of design and will be on our website really soon, and I will be sure to email everyone on this list once it's live. So our agenda for today is, first, I will talk about how to find New York products year-round and the types of things that you can incorporate in school menus during all seasons. We'll talk a bit about seasonal classroom activities and ways to engage with agriculture and food systems year-round, and also ways to use the garden outside of the growing season. And then I'll wrap up with some ideas for what you can be doing right now this month in May with your farm to school program before I'll pass it over to Kim and Tricia to talk about what they do in Hamburg and give us a really applied on the ground view of what it means to run a year-round farm to school program and all the different ways that they make their program successful. And then we'll end with time for Q&A, during which we'll invite everyone to unmute and ask questions directly, but please feel free to use the chat to ask questions throughout the whole presentation. So if you are looking to buy New York products, it's often our first thought to think of fresh fruits and vegetables from local farms, which can have limited time windows throughout the year that they're able to be procured fresh and local, but also sometimes those windows don't line up with the school year. But there is a bunch of products that you can buy to incorporate into your school menus year-round, and these are categories like dairy products, maple syrup, honey, grains, meat, eggs, frozen or canned fruits and vegetables. These are things that you can get year-round. Also, value-added products are another category that you can really rely on to incorporate New York products all year. And there is in-season produce at every time here in New York. It's just that the list gets smaller in the winter months than maybe it is in the fall. And I know that the folks in Hamburg have a number of ways that they get New York products on the plate all year, and they'll talk about that later. But if you're in New York State, you can find specific products, producers, and distributors that qualify for the New York 30% initiative on Cornell Cooperative Extension, Harvest New York's 30% New York eligible product database, which is a really incredible resource for finding New York products in your area at that time. And also, if you happen to be a producer or a distributor, it's a really good way to advertise to schools what you have available. In addition to buying what's available in the moment, you can also use preservation techniques like vacuum sealing, flash freezing, and cold storage to extend the shelf life of any fresh produce that you buy or that you get from your garden. And the written guide goes into a little bit more detail about each of these techniques than I will today, and also shares examples of places where schools are using these techniques to are incorporating these techniques into their farm to school program. Specifically, Saratoga County Farm to School has a great video on how they use these techniques. There's also, in addition to the cafeteria, there's also ways that you can get kids engaged in the classroom with farm to school all year. One really great way that a lot of schools have been using lately is to bring the garden indoors with hydroponic tower gardens that can be in classrooms or in the cafeteria, and you can grow with kids all year. There are also a number of, not a number, like a plethora of free lesson plans from New York Agriculture in the Classroom that meet New York educational standards and are targeted to all age groups from pre-K through 12 and are available for free and are mapped out so you can easily take one and use it immediately in your classroom. And they have related to all sorts of agriculture topics related to New York State specifically or agriculture more broadly. There's also, it's a season, and any season activity is a great opportunity to explore our cultural connections and traditions around food. There is so many holidays or seasons to take the time to think about the ways that culture and food are connected, and it doesn't have to be in the growing season to do that. You can really do that anytime, or you can root it in a specific holiday celebration or something like that. You can invite kids to share their family's culture around food, or their certain celebrations that they have, things like that. And then lastly, it's farm field trips. Farms are there year round, but sometimes it might be too cold to get kids outside and onto a farm, where it might just not be the most interesting time of year to be physically on a farm. I'm thinking of something like an apple farm in May is less interesting than an apple farm in October. So there are a number of organizations that have put together virtual farm field trips, which are a great tool for really easily getting kids connected to farms. And again, New York Agriculture in the Classroom offers a number of these, and then certain trade associations like the New York Beef Council or the American Dairy Association have their own virtual farm field trips that are targeted to specific age groups. And you can also get kids out into the garden and use your school garden outside of the growing season. It can be a great way to observe seasonal changes and plant life cycles. You can save your seeds and start a seed library. The late winter and the early spring time is a really good time to engage students in garden planning, measuring out how much space you'll need for which plants, timing your planting. These are all kinds of opportunities to connect kids to the garden, get them excited for the upcoming season, use some analytical skills. You can also create art for the school garden or about the garden at any time of year. Maybe in March, people are excited to get started for the garden. You can paint some planters and things like that. And then if you're in New York, like we are, the late winter and early spring is also an opportunity to make your own maple syrup on campus or participate in the schoolyard sugaring contest. There's a number of ways we can get outside even when we don't have plants growing. But this month, May, is a really exciting time for Farm to School. So I wanted to share some ideas of things that you could do today, next week, in 2 weeks. May is a good time to feature the early spring produce like lettuce or spinach or radishes for harvest of the month, or in your menus in more general sense. It's also a great time to prep your school gardens for planting. If you already have a school garden, this is the time to do an inventory of all your tools, clean up your beds, make sure everything's in working order, lay some mulch. If you don't have a garden yet, but you're ready to get started, this would be a great time to be building your beds, getting your soil, things like that. And then after that last frost date, it really depends on where you are. For example, I'm in the capital region. The average last frost date is May 2nd. So after that point in time, you can begin planting outside, whether that's transplanting seeds you've started indoors or doing some direct planting. May is the time when we can really start to get outside, which is exciting. And it's also a really good time to make a plan for your summer garden maintenance, because you have time to put things in place before the end of the school year. And it's really important to have a plan for summer garden maintenance so that it all doesn't fall onto one person who may or may not have signed up for that role. I would recommend that you engage with the maintenance staff at your school district so that they know what's going on and are on board. Can make everything go a lot smoother for everyone to have all of your stakeholders engaged and on board. This is a good time to enlist volunteers to help you maintain the garden over the summer, whether that's parents and students, or you're connecting with a community service organization in your area that's willing to bring volunteers out to the garden. You could also take a more creative approach and maybe have like an adopt-a-bed program or some way to get folks excited about the garden and keep it going over the summer. You can also connect with any summer youth program that might be running in your district or in your town. If there's a summer camp, maybe they can bring the kids out to the garden. And you could also time your harvests. Maybe there's about 8 weeks until the end of the school year. So you could time your harvest so that you harvest before the end of the school year, and then you don't have to maintain the garden for a while. You can put them to bed with a cover crop. But now is the time to make a plan for the summer garden if you have one. And then lastly, you can continue working with year-round New York products. You can continue your any season activities. It's a great time for all of it. And now I'm going to pass it over to the folks at Hamburg, and they're going to walk us through what they do in the cafeteria, what they do in the classrooms and the gardens, and then lastly, the base of support, the things that make the program sustainable.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kimberly Abram. I am the food service director here at Hamburg Central. We have 6 schools in our district, 4 elementary, middle school, and a high school. We have about, total enrollment is probably about 3,500, fluctuating. And then we serve about 1,600 meals a day, give or take. So just a little background. And Tricia?
My name is Tricia Miller. I'm the farm to school coordinator for Hamburg Central School District. And I love being in the garden with the kids.
So just to give you a little background on, I'm fairly new to this district and fairly new to school food service. So Tricia has been a great mentor to me to institute and continue instituting the farm to school program to our district, which is very valued by our administration and the community. So it's a really great program that we are continuing to maintain. So just to recap, we do a Harvest of the Month calendar. We created that over the summer. Just to give you a quick overview, it's a very rough draft, but we picked the feature items that are prevalent in Western New York because we are a suburb of Buffalo. So we're south of Buffalo. So we're very blessed with a lot of local farms that we can procure different items from. So Tricia and I sat down and we created a calendar of what items we thought would be best for school lunch. And then from there, using the most items possible, we created a recipe or a menu item. So for example, May, which is coming up, which is a little challenging of a month because we're in those in-between seasons. We're going to be doing grilled cheese with a local Great Lakes cheese, a New York butternut squash soup, which is procured from a organic farm in Bloomfield, New York, which is south of Rochester. We procured local honey from Smith's apiary or Smith's Farm, which is a family couple
in the district.
In the district. They have children in the district, so we're supporting local. So we're going to do honey glazed carrot coins, and the carrots are also local from one of our produce distributors. And we also have an agreement with a local apple grower. So we get apples every week from them. So those are featured throughout the year from September all the way till June because of their storage capabilities. We get all sorts of different varieties of apples. And of course, we work with Upstate Dairy, which is a cooperative of local milk. So we always have milk cartons, strawberry, chocolate, and white milk. And then of course, cheese sticks and yogurt, those staple items for school lunch. To go back to the harvest of the month, we did share that calendar with local food service directors to see if they wanted to also feature similar items. So as a Erie County, Western New York community, we're pulling those same items for those farmers so they can help procure the right amount. So I think we've kind of gotten onto a flow, but everybody's entitled to do their own lunch menu. So we're trying to streamline it, but it's proving a little harder, but no big deal. So and I think advanced planning is probably the most important because the farmers need time to grow these items. And if we don't tell them in advance, they don't know what to grow or how much. We were awarded the local food to school grant, which was nice. Oh, let me go back to the slides. Yep. Oh, so that's a couple of school pictures. That Mafia Mac on the right-hand side. Tricia reached out to Eden Valley Creamery, which is a local cheese manufacturer, and they came in with one of our culinary classes, and they did a recipe development with that cheese, and we actually featured that recipe within school lunch at the middle school because that was the middle school class that created that recipe. So it's kind of nice to get the buy-in from students and their friends because they know that they created that recipe. So it's kind of like a good push to get more involvement in school lunch because we're always looking to sell more lunches and feed everyone's belly.
And that Mafia Mac, by the way, came in second place for New York Egg in the Classroom. They ran a contest for macaroni and cheese. So this team from our middle school culinary program was one of the winners, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Thank you. No, you're fine. So and we did, like I said, we did also win a local foods for school grant, which does allow you to purchase little or minimally processed items in New York State. So that is a huge funding help for us, especially to get those items that you may not necessarily procure because of the expense. Some examples of that would be New York State maple or New York State honey, because of the effort it takes to produce those items. They're more costly, as we all know. We also have looked into procuring more New York State beef, whether it be ground beef or burger patties, which the kids love. And, just sticking kind of with the basics, but then enhancing them, putting the honey on the carrots for honey glazed carrots, or introducing a maple product to another vegetable to enhance those. So you can kind of get kids more interested into certain items that they wouldn't necessarily normally try or taste at home. So yeah, talked about the local food, and then New York products that are most reliable. We are blessed in this area. We have some great farmers and vendors that we deal with that I don't know how they do it, but they do. They procure a lot of items, or they have a lot of items that they continue growing throughout the year. So some items that we get all year round would be lettuce. Hydroponic lettuce has been a new purchase for us this year, which is another district family.
Yeah.
So we're again supporting our local community. Squash, carrots, cabbage, and of course the apples that I had mentioned earlier. Those are all products that, have a stable shelf life and that we can get all year round and do a lot of different things. You can do raw carrots, you can do cooked carrots, you can do sticks, you can do slices. So I guess it's different presentations just to keep the kids excited about school lunch. But that's what I'm looking to do. For May, we are, as I mentioned, we're planning honey. So Tricia knows a lot of our local families for her being in the district longer than I have. And she procured honey for each one of our schools. And that is going to be actually picked up on Friday. So we'll get that over to our schools, and we're going to incorporate that again into our honey glazed carrots, which is one of our harvests of the month for May. And that'll be featured on our New York Thursday.
Okay, so in the classroom. So the first thing is how I work with teachers to bring lesson plans into the classroom and classes into the garden. If you are a garden educator in your school or a farm school coordinator, your friend is Sign Up Genius. If you're not using Sign Up Genius, you really should. It is free and it makes it really easy for teachers to choose times that work for them. And also it sends automatic reminders, which is really nice. And then there's reports for end of the year if you need to follow up with how many times you've been out with classes and hours and whatnot. But really, it's just persistence to get the classes out into the garden, keeping things as organized as possible so that when a whole class comes out, everything is set in place. There's gloves set out for each student. There's a shovel for each student. We have what we do square foot gardening. So we built these little frames with strings and they go into the garden beds and it's like a grid system. So when the kids are planting, then they draw a tic-tac-toe board. And so everybody's planting in a specific spot, which keeps it pretty organized. Not always, kindergarten, your seeds might end up in a different bed, but that's okay. And so that the teachers are going back into the classroom with less dirt on them than they would have expected. So keeping it pretty organized, in the way of getting the digging and the planting, but also making sure there's another fun aspect, because digging in the dirt is always fun, but another fun piece that just the kids are going to go back to the classroom and remember that worms are super decomposers because they were super excited about being able to handle the worm and measure the worm, so just that they're connecting that worms are super decomposers because they had that fun experience. So when I bring them out there, just trying to add an added layer of fun because it already is fun. But that's the garden piece of it. And getting into the classrooms, again, it's Sign Up Genius, keeping it as organized as possible, because I don't know how all districts, I'm sure, don't work the same, but on our number days, some teachers do not have a free moment in a day. So I will put out increments of, if they prefer 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I'll put that out in the Sign Up Genius and they can go through and choose. And then they can also swap with other teachers if it turns out another time is better for them. And it's usually, because we've been doing it for so long, the teachers kind of change up their curriculum a little bit to make it go along with things that they experienced in the garden, which is really fun. Like parts of a plant for kindergarten or first, where they are still doing it in spring. They really bring a strong activity and lesson in the fall, because they come out to the garden space. The kids can pull the plants out and touch all of those pieces and parts. So where it normally be their spring lesson, they also bring it into a fall lesson. So getting into the classroom and the garden is keeping it pretty organized, adding that element of fun and using Sign Up Genius, super, super important. And for winter garden activities, I have to say we love coming out in the winter. That's probably persistence too. So for the first few years of trying to get teachers to sign up for winter activities, I probably had quite a few less than I do now. And now when we put up a Sign Up Genius, our school starts at 9, they end at 3. So if I can get them out there at 9:15 and then we do 30-minute increments, they're completely full. And the teachers are all like, can we come out with another class? Because they love coming out in the winter. So some of the things that we do in the winter, one would be more like tucking the beds in, but letting the kids know that these garden beds are not asleep. So, the gardens are done, things are cold. We save bagged leaves from all over our community where we know dogs aren't going to the bathroom. And so we bring them back to the garden and we just save them. And as we get into the really cold days, then the kids come out and they help us tuck in the garden beds, because everything's in that soil is still alive. It's still living all through the winter months. So that's one of the things that they do with me. And then we also do hydroponic and terraponic growing in the classrooms in the winter. So the hydroponic towers, and then the terraponic, we have a 2445 organic grow rack that we utilize for greens that can be harvested and brought into school lunch or used in the classroom or used in tastings.
Hopefully for June.
Yeah.
Celebration.
Celebration.
Celebration. If you can say it 5 times fast.
And composting is big. So composting is something that we have been repeatedly trying for the last 10 years. And this past 2 years, it's been super duper successful because we scaled it back. Instead of trying to do everything, we're trying to get the kids in the habit in the elementary school and only composting classroom snack scraps. And that has made it manageable, but also gotten all of the kids excited and practicing. And now like our town has a composting program going on, and it's just exciting all throughout the community. And so as other classrooms see, we have 15 at one school, and as other classrooms see it, that kind of like a peer pressure, I guess, they want to compost too. So composting has been really big. But like I said, we don't have the capacity to take cafeteria and kitchen right now, but we will. It's coming. So to get the kids in the habit now, even just with snack scraps, knowing what they can put in, and then it comes out into the garden tumblers. But we also have in each school vermicomposting, and that has been amazing. So this past week was our first harvest of vermicompost, and the 4th and 5th graders are packaging it, and we're going to sell it at farmers market in the mornings to staff starting next week. So that's something you can do all through the winter, all the time, all year long. And then they kind of fight over who gets to take it home for the summer. So that's pretty neat.
So start small.
Yeah, start small.
On everything.
Start small.
We're going into our 6th year of our new school?
Yeah.
6th. So, and it wasn't all of this when I wasn't even here, but Tricia started from the ground up. So start small and build.
Yeah.
And they will follow. Because they have.
Yeah. So the composting is one. And then one of the things we love to talk about in the winter is the importance of snow in our region and water conservation. And so when we get the kids out into the garden spaces to talk about that, it's pretty simple and easy for them to kind of grasp what that means, what water conservation means, and to talk about our watershed and how the snow in this region, how it affects our watershed. And then we, again, add a little piece of fun. So they go home at the end of the day and they kind of remember that the snow, this is what we talked about this, and it's going to stick with them because we've had some fun, ice cube race with gutters, or, little Lego men and ice cubes, doing our winter Olympics or something like that. So water conservation is another one. And then we do winter seed sowing. So we'll use recyclable containers. And we typically start doing that around December, around the winter solstice. And the kids each class will do winter seed sowing containers, and then we check on those all throughout the winter months. We also hoop some of our beds and see, can we grow anything through the winter? And we have been successful. So we've been able to do that in just garden beds, not in the high tunnel. And the kids really enjoy it. It's super fun. And we always have a lot of sleds. We always have lots of buckets. And especially for like our winter seed sowing day, winter solstice, we do snow minions because that's also our root veggie month. So the kids team up, they build snow minions, and then they use root veggies to decorate it. So if we have snow. Yeah.
This year was a little challenging.
If we don't have snow, believe me, I go around with big tubs and collect as much as I can from anywhere I can get it. So yeah, those are some of the winter things. And then, trees, we do evergreens in the winter, and we just collect all sorts of branches from all of our local tree farmers. And that's another New York Ag lesson that the kids absolutely love. We have lots of fun with, and we do it outside. We do it out in the snow. So that's a lot of stuff that you can do in the winter. The seed saving, we package our seeds. We make origami envelopes. We put them all in our local seed share. I'm probably talking a little too long about winter, so I'm going to move on to junior chef. Junior Chef is something that we have been doing since 2019 with our middle school culinary program. That's 8th graders. And we were doing it once a year because it was a 20-week culinary program, but now the kids love the culinary. So we do it every quarter. And the kids have to, each quarter is a different theme for the Junior Chef Challenge. One quarter it might be soup. One quarter it might be stir fry. One quarter it might be pizza. And then the kids are challenged to utilize this specific amount of pantry New York ingredients and come up with a recipe that's their own team's. And then judges come in, taste it, and then there's a winning recipe. So the Junior Chef one is super popular. We have our New York pizza coming up at the end of this month, and we have 2 local pizzerias coming in. We have Eden Valley Creamery coming in, and we have Fresh Fix, which is a local food supplier, but they do New York boxes. And they're going to provide a New York box to the culinary class, and the kids have to utilize ingredients in there. So it might be barrel and brine pickled onions. It might be this lemon sauce that they provide, or mushrooms, or all things from local New York farms or producers will be in this box, and then teams have to choose from there. That's a really fun one. So we always end with pizza because it's usually hot. Yeah, so it's a good one.
And we try to, if we have a good winning recipe that is value friendly and not very costly, last year we were able to incorporate one of the recipes on the school lunch from the Junior Chef Challenge. It was actually one of the pizzas. So that's also an option to get your buy-in from your middle school, because that's where the middle schoolers are in that classroom. So
yeah,
done that in the past too.
And using the quieter seasons for farmers, we love reaching out to our local farmers. They'll come in for Farmer Fridays where they'll do story time. They'll come in to meet the kids to examine seeds and talk about the seeds. So it's a great time to reach out to farmers, especially your local farmers, because it's the time of year when they have some downtime if they're not snowbirds and they don't go to Florida. And for May, because next week is Compost Awareness Week, we are just scaling up for next week, and we're going to compost in the cafeteria. Even though we don't have the capacity to keep it, we are working with a local commercial composter called Farmer Pirates. And the kids that I've been working with a lot are going to be in the cafeterias, helping people as they are composting and separating their things for food waste in the cafeteria after school lunch. Then Farmer Pirates is going to meet them outside. They're going to weigh it, and then they're going to take that food waste away. But then we have that number that the kids can then utilize for next year. Like, we did one cafeteria, and look how many pounds of food waste we were able to save from the landfill, and it's going to return to our soil. So that's an exciting kickoff for May, is Compost Awareness Week. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Program sustainability. So we're going to collaborate on this last slide here. The first kind of topic is working together. Both Tricia and I work together quite often. I would say, a couple times a week we're in touch, at least in person or on the phone, and we see each other a lot to keep the program going. Other folks in the district, Tricia is more hands-on in the classroom, so she's working with a lot of teachers and principals and the like. I unfortunately I'm the paperwork pusher, so I am in the office more so. My goal is to get out into the classrooms more, but it is proving challenging. We work with our administration, from going to farmers markets, promoting the farm to school program. Tricia over the summer takes
we usually do 4 farm to school field trips over the summer with any of the middle school students that want to sign up. And that is super fun. This year we're excited because Kim was able to gift us some funding for
I'm the money lady.
You're the money lady. We're taking the middle school culinary kids on a strawberry farm, and they're going to pick for school lunch. We're going to a blueberry farm, and they're going to pick for school lunch. And then we're bringing everything back. We're going to clean it, process it, freeze it, so they can then be used when the school year begins. So that's super, super exciting.
And it's all local.
It's all
We're not
local.
traveling too far.
No.
So I'd say the local farmers market is super important. Over the summer, we also reach out to our farmer friends if they can take us for a tour or a visit. A bunch of directors from Western New York did get together last summer, and we went to a couple. We went to a butchery, I guess you would call it, where they raise their cattle and then humanely slaughter them and process them, USDA, all of that. So that was very interesting to see. And we have some other field trips, adult field trips planned too, to other local farms too. We also work with a local district. The previous food service director went to another district, and we are starting to collaborate with them to get their farm to school program going. So we can bounce ideas off each other and
for sure.
share resources and the like, which they're a stone's throw away. So that works out very well as well. We also this year, Tricia spearheaded a farm to school logo competition with our 8th graders. So 8th grade middle school students that are in what kind of
Studio art.
Studio art. So they're pretty professional. We gave them some parameters on a farm to school logo. And they had a competition. We got the teacher buy-in, and they created a logo just for Hamburg that is representing our farm to school. And it's been slowly released. You don't see it here, but
It'll be next year.
Next year, we're going to really roll it out strong, and we can print it on our my food service staff's t-shirts, on all our materials, social media, and that also is getting the student buy-in with the program, because it was an 8th grader.
Just to interject on that, it was a quiet 8th grader who was beaming with pride and so excited to come to family reading night, because that's when we unveiled it. And she was just so excited. I don't think she'll ever forget it. So that was cool.
We're creating those memories. Ways that we get word about our program out, social media. Tricia is mostly the social media guru. She is
no guru, just trying to get it out there.
She is a picture maniac. So she'll have pictures whether you're smiling or not, but she has the photo. And a lot of our families, parents, guardians like to see their children involved in these activities. So we post a lot. We try to post a lot more. But we try. You get caught up in the day, but we like to feature our Harvest of the Month, our New York Thursdays, garden activities, things that are happening in the food service program, our staff. Friday is National School Lunch Hero Day, so they'll be featured on social media on Friday, and we are so thankful for them. Local events, like I said, we go to farmers markets, different community activities. There was just the tree.
We just did a re-tree event for the community. Yeah.
So our area is very supportive of that. We also, we have representation at all open houses, and we promote the farm to school program at the beginning of the school year. So that's especially important at our elementary level to get those parent interest and buying school lunch and the value that you get with all supporting the local community, and you're getting all these fresh veggies or fresh food. Administrative support. I think we have a great support system within our administration. They allow us to do a lot of things, both within farm to school and school lunch. So that's key. And once you have the support of them, then it trickles down with the staff and the faculty and food service staff, and then myself. Obviously, I'm pushing for it. Tricia and I are both pushing for it, but they're a great support system. And I think it's a key piece to have them on your side, because everybody will listen with what they have to say. And we have some local community support. Tricia and her Soleil.
Oh, yeah. I'm a part of a not-for-profit that does gardening with kids. That's kind of how I got involved in this. And then once Farm to School was brought here, I jumped in both feet. So yeah, we do. We have a lot of support.
And we have a lot of local vendors that are just so excited to come into the classroom and share what they can. Eden Valley or who else is
Produce peddlers, Fresh Fix. I mean, any of the local community organizations. We have our local environmental commission. Everybody is like, yeah, what can we do for you? So it's nice.
Yeah. And then ways that we have funded our program. Farm to School is basically under the food service umbrella. So we work together on funding different things. Obviously, you have to make sure that it's an approved item that you can fund, which is sometimes challenging, but try to find your way around it if you can. A lot of the like Junior Chef Challenge and items or situations like that, our vendors will be willing to donate
Yeah.
products, whether it's cheeses or pasta or
Produce,
breads,
hot dogs, whatever it is, they're willing to donate.
Yeah, and that takes a huge burden. And it's not a massive amount typically, but we are grateful for whatever they're willing to donate to help the kids learn. And then we also apply for different grants. We applied for a couple this year. We're just waiting to hear to continue the program, whether it's different equipment or field trips or whatever the case may be. That's really a key piece, is to get your name out there and keep it out there and let everybody know that you're looking to grow your program always.
And actually those summer field trips for strawberries and blueberries are the busing is from a grant through New York Ag in the Classroom. So, that's awesome. I'm so glad we get to do summer stuff. Yeah.
And I think
we covered, right?
That's a pretty quick, brief overview of what we have to share. That is just a little snippet. But we are blessed to be in the area that we're in and feature the items that we can. So I would say keep trying and you'll get there. But I guess we'll open it up for questions or.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you both for sharing, and thank you everyone for joining. Does anyone have any questions for Kim and Tricia or for myself? You can either ask them in the chat or you can unmute and ask. Maybe while we give folks a second to think if they have any questions, you two can tell me a bit about how you pitch the Farm to School program, maybe to a teacher or a principal or a business office official who is maybe a little hesitant about Farm to School. How do you get that type of person on board?
I think that'd be more. So Tricia was here from the beginning. She's more part of the initial startup.
I have to be honest, it isn't really okay. If there's hesitance, I don't feel like it's that hard because it's good for everything. So when we're asking someone to be invested in this opportunity, we're like, it's a great free opportunity for your kids to connect with nature, have some fun. Whatever we might be purchasing food wise, it's great for our local economy. And you name off all of the farmers that live near us. That's who we're supporting. These are people that these are people that you see. You may even have their children in your classroom. So I guess just that, like it's a win-win-win. There's no anything to do with it is a win. It isn't there's nothing bad about it.
I would just add to that, start small. You can't have the whole big picture right away. And don't be discouraged.
There's lots of resources. I mean, there's you can look up anything and find the answer to it to help you, something to help you guide you, or call another school, call us. We're happy to talk. Yeah.
There is a question in the chat asking if, Tricia, if you are a full-time 12-month employee of the school district, So what that looks like, and then if so, how did the school district secure the funds for your position?
I am a 12-month employee of the district. And I think after COVID, when our food service was more in the black, they were able to come up with a number that they could fund me for a 12-month position. So it is through food service.
And then someone is asking how many sites you work with.
Okay. We have 4 elementary schools that I am with often, weekly, at least 2 a week. And I work on Wednesdays at the middle school and at the high school level. High school is a little more difficult in the way of we don't have a garden there, but we're super close in that the high school classes can walk over to the other elementary gardens, and they kind of prefer that. And most of, like, I do garden clubs outside of school. So before school and after school, I also have a garden club. And most of my volunteers are high school students who come and are like the support. So when we separate into small group activities or to oversee, it's usually my high school students. So yeah, 6 sites.
And how many years have you been with the district?
I've been working, this is my second year actually working under the district umbrella, but I've been working within the district as a volunteer doing garden connections, garden education with the school since 2009.
And this is I'll be finishing my second year.
Do we have any more questions for Kim and Tricia? Either, like I said, you can continue to use the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask.
Anything else?
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope this was useful and interesting, and I will be in touch following in the following days with the recording of the webinar and also the link to our Farm to School Winter Guide once it's launched. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you for having us.